here again.
Well, it's so funny. This is what's happening to private citizens everywhere, and so we really have a president that can understand our plight. I mean, this is exactly what's happening to me, right? Like Rick Hubbard, right?
Right.
Tim Harper. They're saying, prove that you're innocent. We're going to hold your property. We're going to hold your land. We're going to take away your rights until you can prove that you didn't do anything.
You weren't here, but the Bowles family that we talked about the other week,
Right.
Who literally their child was taken by DHS, and a judge gave the order to take the children because they would not talk to DHS. That was their cause for grave concern and inability to get to a resolution, or a cause for extreme concern.
These people need to be fired at a minimum.
Yes. And much worse than that, because think about all of the crimes that have come from the kidnapping of the child. Literally, it's kidnapping. And it's just done under color of law, but there's nothing lawful about it.
Yeah. Letting your 11-year-old, what is this, van?
Yeah.
It was just right here in Tulsa. Yeah. What happened?
Was that in North Tulsa? Or?
Oh, well, there's a number of cases. It depends which part of town you're in. If the DA thinks it's a dangerous part of town, the mom and dad go to jail. But if it's in the nice part of town with the fancy, mansions.
Depends on how good of a job he's doing in that part of town. Whether you go to jail for his incompetence.
Yeah, the problem's not our neighborhood; it's that other neighborhood on the other side of town.
Well, nobody's above the law unless you're kidnapping the kids for the state, and then then it's legal.
Unless you're making up the rules.
Well, I got to get that Title IV.
Well, anyway, we're talking impeachment here. I want to say I think this is just going to fizzle out. What I am looking for Trump to do after the vote's done is to go ahead and give a full pardon to a number of people, including
Flynn, maybe.
Ian Stone, Roger Stone, and Flynn. I want this all behind us. This was a hatchet job. Now listen, if you got other things like he cheated on taxes, like what's his name, the personal lawyer who turned on him, and even his old campaign manager, the guy was involved in other things.
If you find out, you got proof, you got the video of Trump ripping off his mattress tag,
No.
guys, Democrats, bring that next time.
I have to say, if none of this would have happened. It was the campaign manager, Manafort. He would have never been convicted if he hadn't been Trump's campaign manager. I get that.
Sure.
But you know what? Eventually you're going to become somebody big one day, and they're going to look into your past. And this is why you don't cheat 5 years earlier.
Yeah.
So that's...
The investigation into Biden would only be valuable if Biden is dirty. And my contention was that Schiff admits then, by his statements about studying corruption in Ukraine, he admits it's going to be Biden.
Yes, you could write textbooks on this. This is a case study in influence, human decision-making, and bias.
Yeah, I can guarantee you there's going to be some, I'll call it dark money, I'll call it PAC money or whatever, some Republican interests are probably going to fund an investigation in Ukraine. And we're going to find out just exactly what the Biden kid was involved in.
You mentioned something about the elites, and you're absolutely right, Tom. What this is, it's saying you cannot investigate Democrats. This is what happens when you even ask the question if a Democrat committed a crime. Oh, forget that Hunter Biden has been kicked out of the Navy, that he's a major cokehead, that he has illegitimate children. Forget all about that, and I'm not saying, this man's personal character indicates that he's committed a crime or not, but forget that he has no experience in oil and gas. He's making $83,000 a year. Forget that he's on the corporate board
of a month.
Yeah, $83,000 a month, over $1 million a year. Forget that John Kerry's son works for the same board, no engineering background, no finance background, no knowledge. They don't even speak Ukrainian or Russian, to my knowledge. And Nancy Pelosi's son. What a coincidence. You've got here an order of magnitude more evidence than what is being brought against this president.
Henry Kissinger said, I want to channel my inner Henry. Henry Kissinger said to Rush Limbaugh, the first time Rush Limbaugh moved to New York and got invited to one of the hobnob parties there at William F. Buckley's house.
Right.
And Henry Kissinger says, the problem with the Democrats is they accuse you of everything they're doing. And that's exactly what you're saying. Because Trump started on the scent of the trail going after Biden's past. And so what they do? They accused him of what Biden was doing.
Biden is on film saying, Biden, what's your source on this? Biden. Joe Biden is my source on Joe Biden's potential crimes.
Yeah.
He said, I fired that prosecutor. I made a phone call to Ukraine. Within 24 hours, I said, this $1 billion in aid up in the air, and Vice President of the United States, if you don't fire that prosecutor, that's looking into my son.
A persuasive speech professor at OSU teaches that as or used to teach it as a technique, literally as one of the techniques.
Right. Well, to sum up the impeachment, if the Democrats had evidence of crime, of an actual crime, and actual evidence that what he was doing had no ulterior motive, and the only motive was criminal in nature somehow.
Well, like I said, it's a case study in bias. If you're willing to assume maybe 5 or 10 negative things about Trump that you can't prove,
right?
Yes, perhaps he committed a crime. But if you look at on the face of what the Democrats have done, here's the crime by the same standard they're trying to accuse Trump. An absolute standard of quid pro quo with Joe Biden, and only the speculation built on a house of cards, speculation after speculation after speculation, all of which have to be true, none of which they can prove for Trump to be guilty.
Well, and they're trying to prove a motive. They're trying to convict on motive, not on what he did, but on motive.
Yeah.
And the thing is that you can't prove motive. It has to be confessed, and nobody has come up with a confession or firsthand evidence.
But
or
everybody
anything.
feels like they know the other guy's motive, so that's all they need to do.
Hey, let's tune
Democrat.
everybody back in. Our viewers, if you're watching and just tuning in, Tom McKay here with all three Davids. Sooner Politics, David Van. We've got Constitutional Grounds with David Oldham, and of course David D'Ambroso. Find him on Facebook. Catch me at Tom E. McKay on Twitter. We're talking about the impeachment, and I still have a lot to say about the impeachment. I think it's this episode in history is as important as the moonshot in the 60s. I think this is defining us as a culture in that same way. I think it's funny for them to say that Trump is going to cheat. First of all, how far off is it for this to benefit him? First of all, he'd have to do the investigation, find dirt on Biden, and then that dirt would have to be significant enough to change people's minds in the voting. But it's like there are miles and miles.
Well,
away.
remember, the original claim was that he wanted them to make it up, which has never been demonstrated to have been said.
Well, they keep moving the goalposts, and we talk about it all the time in this program. The facts don't matter. The Democrats have an agenda. They have a goal. That is all that matters. So the law, the Constitution, what was actually said, if anything even looks like it's... But none of that matters.
Right,
they just don't like this guy, and really that's why they've been...